Take away. You know how they're trying to take. Why doesn't he just sell it to somebody?
I think they were going to try to do that, like buy it at the auction, but they rigged the auction.
Oh, that's right. They rigged the auction.
Yeah, and then the judge struck it down because they didn't even put money up. And that guy, Ben Carson, not Ben Carson, that's that scumbag from the Twitter files. I can't remember his name. He's a MSNBC reporter and also a CIA spook. You know, the gay guy that was
Ken Delinian.
Who?
Ken Delinian.
No, his name is Ben something.
Oh, really? Can you give me a...
You've seen him. We played him before. He's a real piece of shit. He bought The Onion somehow.
Oh, my God. Is that why The Onion's not as good as it was?
Well, it was already going. It was already on its way out.
Did The Onion get Trump derangement syndrome?
Oh, very early on. And right after Hillary lost, The Onion started sucking. So, but then that Ben, I can't remember his dumb last name. Anyway, who cares? He bought it, or he was being propped up by somebody who to buy it. They all think like you're going to take the IP of Infowars, and like Alex Jones is Infowars. It's just like James O'Keefe. Oh, now we own Project Veritas. Well, nobody cares about the stupid name like that, jerk-offs. That's not how it works. They want to see the guy do the thing. So same with any IP, Star Wars.
Boy, James O'Keefe is really doing some of the best undercover work. It's amazing to watch, right? He's the only one doing it.
I mean, how do these people get security clearance when you can easily get them to spill the beans on everything if they think they're going to get laid?
They think they're going to get laid.
Yeah. That's how you know Epstein's thing must have been easy, the easiest thing in the world.
Yep. Hey, AOC is going to talks to Jon Stewart. Now, of course, Jon Stewart doesn't ever ask her a hard question. He doesn't say, hey, whatever happened with that forced to vote? You know, that thing you ran on? And then Jimmy Dore and a bunch of healthcare activists, including Cornel West and why am I blanking on everybody else? Marianne Williamson and lots of people all said that you should do it. And then you didn't do it. Like, they'll never ask.
And then he said it was violence to ask you why you didn't do it.
Yeah. He'll never ask her. He'll never ask her about, hey, why are you now just an establishment shill? He'll never, hey, why did you vote with Nancy Pelosi? Why did you do all these horrible things?
Because her career is more important than, you know, the knock down the house and somebody's got to go in there who doesn't care about getting reelected.
I'm just saying, Jon Stewart, it's just, why even do this? Just because you want to buddy up with AOC?
Because he's a Springsteen fan. If you have, I mean, do you understand the mid-wit level of taste you have if you think Bruce Springsteen is good?
I mean, I think his music's good and he does a good concert, but he's certainly not what you think he is. Maybe he's going to tell you to vote blue no matter who all the time.
Yeah, he's a construct.
Yeah, he's a construct. So here's Jon Stewart interviewing AOC, and they're both going to act like they're telling the truth now. Now that the Democrats are completely out of power, now before, you know, when she had leverage, and she didn't use it at all. In fact, she turned against healthcare activists. Yeah, that's what she did. So watch Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, by the way, who hung a medal on a legit Nazi and has never been asked about it or never going to answer for it. Here we go.
Well, that was penance.
There need to be Democrats who walk the walk and talk the talk. There is an insane amount of...
Yeah, like you. Like you. When you said you were going to bring the ruckus on the Democratic Party, you remember that?
A squad, maybe? A squad of them.
A squad of them.
Oh, they're going from AIPAC, right? You didn't stand up for shit. And
yeah, remember when you, yeah. And then you just remember when you had the ability to use your leverage to get extractions out of concessions from Nancy Pelosi for her vote, for your vote for her to become Speaker of the House, and you didn't? You remember that? Remember when you didn't walk the walk?
What happened, AOC?
What happened?
Did you go to a
and of
Diddy
course,
party
Jon
or
Stewart
something?
just, what's that?
Did AOC go to a Diddy party or something? What was this about face?
And Jon Stewart just lets her say it as if she's one of those people. She doesn't walk the walk.
There need to be Democrats who walk the walk and talk the talk. There is an insane amount of hypocrisy, and the hypocrisy is what gets exploited to use the cynicism. And wherever there's a hypocritical window, for example, I think one of the most biggest examples of this is insider trading in Congress. Like,
dude.
You know, of course, I didn't bring this up. I made it seem like Donald Trump was the only corrupt person in all of politics during the election.
For doing that thing with his house, I did with my house, me, Jon Stewart.
Yeah, remember when Trump inflated the price of his property to get a loan from a bank that everybody made? Remember, I pretended like that was the most horrible thing in the world and that was corrupt. The same thing I was doing with my property. Yeah, dude.
Because that's how property works? Dude. John, what are you worried about insider trading? You got that $50 million contract at Apple because of insider trading. What do you think makes the world go round, John?
I don't know if I do I give snaps? I don't know what the kids do anymore, but like, dude.
Right there, you punk.
It's so funny.
Yeah, and he's so excited because, hey, I was never going to bring that up to you during this interview, but I'm so thrilled that you did. You actually brought up something of substance during this interview that exposes the Democratic Party as being completely corrupt criminals. I was never going to do that because I did that once on Stephen Colbert's show when I said the virus came from a Wuhan lab and I got kicked out of liberal society for a year. I'll never do that again. So that's why he's like, oh, thank you for now I can talk about this because you brought it up.
I don't know what the kids do. Am I allowed to applaud? I certainly want to respect every moronic thing because I have no testosterone anymore.
It is like,
so crazy.
It's so crazy.
No, it's not crazy. It's criminal.
Yeah, it's not crazy. It's criminal. And you're all part of it.
If only you were there. If only someone was in government who could do something, AOC.
Yeah.
If only there was a person who could put it all on the line to get something done. Dude.
It's crazy. I mean, like and this is the thing. It's like people think that everyday people are stupid. I'm like, do you all really think that people don't see this shit? Like,
they sit on a committee.
And you ask them to keep voting for them, though. Yes.
Yeah,
you do think people are stupid enough to not see this. That's why you kept telling people to keep voting for. And you voted for Nancy Pelosi, the biggest offender of this thing that you both are pretending to be upset about. But Nancy Pelosi, a much bigger criminal than Trump is. Joe Biden just pardoned his whole goddamn family because they're involved in money laundering and human trafficking. That's why the pardons go back to 2014.
Unreal.
But neither of you pukes will say anything about this when it actually effing matters.
They get information about a drug or a contract or a thing. They immediately make a call. The stockbroker changes things and their portfolio swells.
Explodes. It explodes.
What are we doing?
And you're doing this on public trust.
Right.
On like taxpayer finance, public, facilities. Like it, of course.
You're regulating the market that you're trading on.
You mean, are you going to mention someone's name? Are you going to mention Nancy Pelosi, the biggest offender of this thing that you're talking about? The person who's now worth $100 million, her husband's worth $200 million. You know, there's only one kind of person who gets rich in politics, and those are crooks.
Yeah, well, the military-industrial complex, which I first heard of watching Jon Stewart, by the way, originally was called the military-industrial congressional complex, and they had him edit the congressional out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know these are good people that don't do their own research, so they wouldn't know that. But, John, how do you think that we got to this point? Like when you hear about the intel community and some bullshit they said. You covered the war for many years,
and he'll never tell. Like I've said a million times, he will never tell his audience the truth about the Ukraine war. He will never, ever, and they won't mention Nancy Pelosi's name. You know who would? Steve Croft on 60 Minutes did. He called her out to her face. But AOC won't, and certainly Jon Stewart isn't going to. And he'll never tell you the truth about vaccines. He'll never tell you the truth about COVID. And he'll never tell you the truth about the Ukraine war. But somehow people still think he's some kind of muckraker truth teller.
Yeah, best he can do is a slight eyebrow raise about Gaza.
Yeah.
He could do a little cutesy Jon Stewart face about Gaza.
Exactly.
And then he really sold.
And
You
like
run the casino.
And then we're supposed to act like money doesn't only corrupts Republicans? Give me a fucking break.
She's so real using foul language like that.
Give me an effing break, she says. It doesn't.
How
So
long has
now
she been-
she's saying the Democrats are corrupt. I thought it was Trump that undermined democracy. You're telling me. And again, of course, they won't say Nancy Pelosi's name. They won't say her name. John won't say it. She won't say it. You think
Well,
it's
there's a
only
lot more names they
Republicans?
can say.
No. I always knew it was Democrats. The Democrats are now the party of money.
But I knew everyone would get mad at me, and I couldn't bear for the worst people who ever lived not to be my friend anymore.
That's right.
The shittiest people who've ever existed on the planet are my friends, and I want to keep them.
And I love how Jon Stewart acts like this is some new revelation. Because watch this. This is from like 2011, I think.
Yeah.
And former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her husband have participated in at least 8 IPOs. One of those came in 2008 from Visa, just as a troublesome piece of legislation that would have hurt credit card companies began making its way through the House. Undisturbed by a potential conflict of interest, the Pelosi's purchased 5,000 shares of Visa at the initial price of $44. 2 days later, it was trading at $64. The credit card legislation never made it to the floor of the House. Congresswoman Pelosi also declined our request for an interview, but agreed to call on us if we attended a news conference.
Madam Leader, I wanted to ask you why you and your husband, back in March of 2008, accepted and participated in a very large IPO deal from Visa. At a time there was major legislation affecting the credit card companies making its way through the House. And did you consider that to be a conflict of interest?
I don't know what your point is of your question. Is there some point that you want to make with that?
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, do you think it's all right for a speaker to accept a very preferential and favorable stock deal?
Well, we didn't.
And you participated in the IPO.
Well, I have many
and at the time you were
investments, but I
Speaker
don't
of the
think-
House. You don't think it was a conflict of interest or had the appearance
No,
of a
it was
conflict
not.
of interest?
It only has the appearance if you decide that you're going to have elaborate on a false premise. But it's not true, and that's that.
I don't understand what part's not true.
Yes, sir.
wanted to
That I
ask you-
would act upon an investment. Yes, sir.
Congresswoman Pelosi pointed out that the tough credit card legislation eventually passed, but it was 2 years later and was initiated in the Senate.
I
way
will
through
hold
the-
my record in terms of fighting the credit card companies as a Speaker of the House or as a member of Congress up against anyone's.
Yeah, and that's why the
And
credit
former
card
House
company.
Speaker
That's why the
Nancy-
credit card companies charge people 35% interest because you fought them. Because you fought them. That's why the credit card. They charge people 35%.
That's
That-
right.
Because
I
you
really
fought
looped
them.
up the hammer on them.
Stephen Miller says, if you don't believe she's already prepping to run, talking about AOC,
Okay, not Nancy.
if you don't believe she's already prepping to run in 2028, the subtle, look how much I love the American flag all of a sudden, here, here, and here, should give you a pretty good hint. Holden Collada says, AOC co-sponsored a bill with Matt Gaetz to ban congressional insider trading a year or two ago. It could possibly happen if Trump pushed for it.
Hey, Jon Stewart forgot to ask her a really important question. How come you dropped the pronouns from your bio and don't say Latinx ananymore?
Yeah, how come?
What happened to Latinx? Remember Latinx was going to be the new thing? It didn't
What
take
happened
off,
to
did it?
that?
Latinx. What are you still Latinx, AOC? Because I don't see it on your bio.
I mean, calling out the faults, admitting the faults of her own political party. She's a little bit, she's so late, she better get a pregnancy test. Brett Moulton says, hey, Pam Bondi, sitting Congresswoman AOC is openly acknowledging that sitting members of Congress are committing felonies. With that being said, shouldn't all members of Congress be investigated? Martha Stewart was convicted and served time in prison. So I would assume the law is fair and the same punishment can be expected if members of Congress are convicted of insider trading.
You assume wrong, sir.
You're
That's
wrong.
not against the law. They passed a law, then they got rid of it quietly. Your boy Obama did it.
They did that. They already passed the law, and that said that if you're a member of Congress, you can't trade. Well, and then the next year, Obama repealed it.
And what was Dodd-Frank, the one that gay angel Barney Frank helped pass, that his name on it that he helped repeal?
Oh, yeah.
When you weren't looking.
Yeah. So there you go. They're all criminals. Good to see Jon Stewart just figured it out. Over to Steph.
Okay. Thank you so much. I just reading a New York Post headline somebody just shared with me. Nancy Pelosi's husband made $38 million worth of stock trades in weeks leading up to Trump's inauguration. And they just, this is an article today, and they go on to say, just hear this. Ex-House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband made $38 million worth of stock trades in weeks leading up to Trump's inauguration, including an investment in a once obscure artificial intelligence firm whose shares have soared nearly 50% in the past week.
Who made that? It's Nancy Pelosi?
Husband, yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Pelosi, the venture capitalist who's married to the Democratic lawmaker whose 11th congressional district encompasses San Francisco, sold $24 million worth of Apple stock as well as $5 million worth of shares of AI chip maker NVIDIA. Wow. Both of these lucrative transactions were executed on New Year's Eve, according to government filings. And Nancy has no idea that this is happening. There's nothing about her husband's business at all interferes with her business.
People can participate in the market.
All right, here we go. Jimmy is so violent. Stop pointing out stuff they said before and flips on. So not fair. American apathy.
Could you imagine?
Back to Jimmy.
Could you imagine